Rebel Capitals, hope you're well. Never do videos on Saturday, but today I am making an exception because I just saw something in the news that you need to know about immediately. Before we get into this, I want to encourage everyone to go to rebelcapitalistlive.com, get your tickets to Rebel Capitalist Live ASAP, only about 3 weeks before the event. We've got speakers like Peter Schiff, Lynn Alden, Brent Johnson, Jeff Snyder, Mike Maloney, just to name a few. You can check out the entire list. Oh, and by the way, we've got some VIP guests that I invited that are coming, such as Robert Kiyosaki, Steve Van Meter, the uneducated economist, Tracy Shukart. So it's not just the speakers that you get to kind of rub elbows with and talk to. It's going to be the incredible VIP guests as well. You can see them at rebelcapitalistlive.com. All right, but let's get into this story, guys. This is really, really important. We go over to Newsweek. Title: Biden raises costs for home buyers with good credit. Now, let me repeat that. Biden raises costs for home buyers with good credit, not bad credit, good credit, to help risky borrowers. You guys have been watching me for a long time. You know, I've been pounding the table about not just central bank digital currencies, but the plumbing, the mechanics, so we can push back against them effectively. But I've also been talking about how this gives the central planners and authoritarians an incredible amount of power. Now, most people know about the Orwellian dynamics, the 1984 stuff, the Big Brother, the loss of privacy, trying to control what you can and what you can't buy and how much of something you can buy. But very few people talk about how we'll call it a central bank digital currency. It's really a centralized ledger system and software. But how this central bank digital currency would give the central planners the power to individualize monetary policy. So you guys know from watching my videos that the fundamental, the foundation, I should say, of a CBDC is that your dollars are no longer a liability of the commercial banking system. They are a liability of the Federal Reserve. So everyone now has an account with the Fed. And oh, by the way, before we get into the rest of this article, let me go over to my Twitter feed, and I'm going to show you something else that goes right along with this. This is actually there we go. This is my backup account. So we'll go to my Twitter feed here, George Gammon. And let's scroll down here, and this is going to completely blow your mind. So here we go. The Fed, and if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, this is really kind of what's been happening is incredible, because you guys know that I've been, again, pounding the table about how a central bank digital currency means that your dollars would become a liability of the Fed. I've been saying this on Twitter as well. So what has the Federal Reserve been tweeting about? Right here. Oh, by the way, you guys know that I've been saying that as of right now, a CBDC is illegal because per the Fed, they cannot do business with individuals. And what has the Fed been tweeting about? The exact same thing. It's really bizarre, actually. And by the way, they started tweeting about this after I did. Every single time I come out with a tweet like this, mentioning something about the CBDCs and your dollars being a liability to the Fed, they come out and tweet or retweet this law that says that they can't do business with individuals. I don't want to say they're following me on Twitter, but it sure as hell seems like it. But that's not the important part. Look at what people are starting to say. This was one of the replies here that I took a screenshot of. Why do big banks get a discount window, but not me? And if you would have seen the actual tweet from the Fed, there were several people that are saying, why do the big banks get this? Why do the big banks get a higher interest rate? Why did the big banks get access to reverse repo or whatever, and I don't? And you can see where this is going, as plain as day. It's the exact same thing as the cerveza sickness, where with a lot of people, the central planners don't have to lock them in a cage. People demand that the authoritarians lock them in a cage. People demand that the government take away their freedom and liberty. And you see this exact same thing. So I said that in the future, I wouldn't be surprised if the government does not, I repeat, does not force FedCoin or whatever, central bank digital currency on the public, but the public actually demands a central bank digital currency. Why? Because it gives them the same benefits that Jamie Dimon has, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. And you can see this playing out if you go down to your local bank, Wells Fargo, and you get 50 basis points, and you know that Jamie Dimon is getting paid 5% by parking his cash at the Fed. Well, that's not right. That's not fair. And you can see the Biden administration. You can see Janet Yellen. You can see Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. You can see, and quite frankly, a lot of the people on the right, a lot of these politicians saying, yeah, that's not fair. Why should the average Joe only get 50 basis points at Wells Fargo on his checking account? That's not fair at all. Let's give the average Joe a checking account at the Fed. And then they can have access to the discount window. Not really, but they can at least get that higher rate of interest. And we don't have to worry about the bank going bust because the Fed can't go bust. And this is the point. This is the pitch. And this is what people are so susceptible to. And ironically, it's the people that are hyper-focused on a central bank digital currency, and they're not even concerned about the dollars being a liability to the Fed. And they're just going to wake up one morning, and they're going to have a social score, and they're going to be like, oh, wow, how did that happen? Yes, because, idiot, you were focused on Fed coin when you should have been focused about the Fed taking your dollars. That's what you should be focused on. So what's my point? Well, let's get back to that Newsweek article. And remember that the Fed's balance sheet is infinite. So why does that matter? Because what I've been talking about for the last year and a half, for heaven's sakes, that the Fed can issue credit not based on merit. No. But based on narrative. And now we're seeing it. We're seeing it happen in real time, right in front of our eyes. Why should we lend? Why should we give mortgages to people with good credit? What are you talking about? That we're just emphasizing the white privilege they already have, or whatever advantage they have, that, well, they've had an advantage their whole life because they're a straight white Christian male, as an example, right? I mean, fill in the blank, whatever the narrative is. So why should they have all of these advantages? We've got to level the playing field here. So how can we level the playing field? Well, we're just going to charge them a higher rate of interest because they have all these other advantages that they just had at birth, because we live in this male-dominated patriarchy or whatever, right? Again, fill in the blank with whatever wokeness comes to mind. And the Fed can do this because they have an infinite balance sheet. They don't have to get paid back. They can have negative equity. They can't go bust, where a real bank has to worry about that P&L. So they can't give someone a mortgage with a lower interest rate just because they have a bad credit score. It's the opposite, right? Because they have to worry about getting paid back, where the Fed doesn't, right? So this is where it's going. I've been talking about this for years now, literally. And now we can see that narrative shift. And where this leads is to everyone having an account at the Fed, so that they can implement more and more and more of these woke policies that, quote unquote, help the disadvantaged groups, right? So if you're in the disadvantaged group, well, now you can have an account with the Fed and we can give you a mortgage at 0%. And you don't have to deal with those greedy banksters and those greedy capitalists that were going to charge you 8% for the mortgage. But if you're part of the group that's had advantaged, let's say you're part of the patriarchy or whatever it is. This stuff, it drives me crazy. So I try not to pay attention to it. But whatever group that has had the advantage, well, you say, well, what about me? Oh, sure. Well, you can have an account with the Fed as well. Absolutely. Okay, well, what about my mortgage? Well, that might be tough. But if we do give you a mortgage, that's going to be 10%. 10%? What are you talking about? I have an 800 credit score. Yeah, actually, that's the problem. You see, you and your male privilege, that male privilege got you that 800 credit score. So we're going to have to level the playing field here. So the XYZ, the trans person that's dealt with all these problems their whole life, we're going to give, and although they have a 400 credit score or whatever the worst score is, we're going to give them a 0% mortgage, and we're going to lend them, and we're going to give them a mortgage up to $10 million so they can buy anything they want. But we're only going to give you a $500,000 mortgage at 10%. You see, and this article right now, this just came out. This takes us not just one step closer to that end game. This takes us 100 steps closer. And again, the things we have been talking about on this channel for the last year and a half, we're seeing it come to fruition in real time, right in front of our eyes. Now let me get into the article. This stuff, as you can tell, this stuff fires me up on a Saturday morning here. Home buyers with good credit scores will soon be facing higher mortgage fees as the Biden administration seeks to close the racial home ownership gap and get more first-time low-income buyers through the door. This goes right into a CBDC. Right in, I mean, it's so obvious. Starting in May, a new federal rule will upend the current structure of the loan level price adjustment matrix. Yeah, well, that's a good word because it definitely feels like we are living in the matrix. That's for sure. And it feels like we have all taken the red pill and everyone around us seems to have taken the blue pill. Your friend and family member, Fred, if you will. And we're the ones that are the conspiracy theorists. Right. Just like Neo was in the Matrix. Home buyers with a good credit score could see their monthly mortgage payment rise by over $60 a month, while riskier borrowers will get more favorable mortgage terms because their fees were reduced. It's the move the Federal Housing Finance Agency hopes will address housing affordability challenges in the United States. How does this impact housing affordability by making mortgages more expensive for people with good credit? How does that help poor people? It's obviously because they're doing something to lower the poor people's, or not the poor people, I should say the people who haven't paid their bills, because a lot of poor people have good credit. You know, they're responsible. They might not have a lot of money, but they pay their bills on time. So I shouldn't say low income. I should just say people who are irresponsible. In the short term, this may increase home ownership among the targeted group, but I'm afraid it could decrease home ownership among the middle class. You don't say. That you mean Jerry? This is Jerry Howard, CEO of National Association of Home Builders. So you're saying there could be unintended consequences here, Jerry? Really? I mean, thanks for that insight. I don't want to throw Jerry under the bus here, but I mean, this is absolutely insane. And what Jerry doesn't realize is this isn't about, helping poor people or a disadvantaged group get a mortgage. This is about pushing a narrative that inevitably leads to your worst nightmare about a central bank digital currency becoming reality. That is the bottom line here. And I would, and see, here's the problem. The normies like Jerry don't see this because they don't even pay attention to this stuff. They're just whistling right by the graveyard. It doesn't even dawn on them that this is about a CBDC. This isn't about mortgages for people with a 400 credit score. You see, because he's not even paying attention. He's taking the blue pill. He's completely oblivious to the matrix we're living in. As is 99% of the people that are just sleepwalking through life. And they just go on to say how great this is going to be. It's designed to help people that have historically faced obstacles. I mean, listen, this, you could just see this pitch. It's gonna lead to, let's help them get a mortgage. Then it's going to lead to, why are we charging them interest? Then it's going to lead to, why don't we just give them a loan that they can just pay back whenever they want? And the only way to achieve these objectives, let me just underscore this for the last time, is to take your dollar liabilities and move them to the Fed. Take your account at Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, fill in the blank, and move it to the Fed. That's the only way that they're going to be able to achieve these objectives. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. You guys know that. This is just a camel getting its nose under the tent. This is just the first step. Where we are in 5 years is going to be exactly what I just said. Why are we even charging these people interest? Well, we can't. Well, a bank has to charge them interest. Okay, well, what do we do? Oh, just move their account to the Fed. This is exactly how it's going to play out. Wow. Scary stuff. Well, as always, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. Again, I want to encourage everyone to get your tickets to rebelcapitalistlive.com. So many people ask me, George, we understand that there's a recession coming. George, we understand that the government is encroaching on taking away our freedoms, liberties daily. We understand that we've got these problems, what we're talking about right now in this video. But what do we do? Well, we got to come together and push back. That's for sure. But another thing that you can do is go to Rebel Capitalist Live. You can hear these speakers. You can hear insights that you're not going to hear anywhere else. But more importantly, you can network with your fellow Rebel Capitalists. You can come together. You can meet each other. And then from there, you can take that relationship and then you can build that support group. You can get motivated and you can come together with like-minded individuals. And that's how we win. That's the first step. So go to rebelcapitalistlive.com to get your tickets ASAP. Guys, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video, and I will look forward to seeing you in Orlando, May 12th through the 14th.